Let me show you an easy way to make fresh fruit cobblers. I'm using peaches and blackberries. This is going to be good and easy. So for the recipe, I'm working with 5 peaches, and I'm just going to clean and soak them in some water and vinegar. By the way, I think for the recipe, I had 6 to 7, but 2 of them are gone. So if you are going to try this, I'd say 6 or 7 peaches works. I also have some fresh blackberries. These are 6-ounce containers each. So 12 ounces of blackberries for what I'm doing today, and I'm going to clean those as well. I'm going to let these soak for about 15 minutes. So I started to slice and chop up the peaches. As you can tell, the ones that I did earlier were very soft, and they didn't peel or pull away from the pit very easily, so I had to kind of slice around it. But, you know, it's going to work. Okay, buttered baking dish. I'm working with an 8 by 12 inch buttered baking dish. I use like a tablespoon and a half of softened butter. So now I'm just going to lay in my peach slices. You definitely can chop these up. You can definitely saute these with a little bit of butter, some sugar to kind of get some of those natural juices, add maybe some lemon juice into the mix. I like simple and easy, and I love fresh peaches just laid out in a baking dish just like this. Okay, so now I have these arranged as best as I can, and like I said, I think more peaches would have worked, but I'm working with what I got. So I have 2 tablespoons of sugar, a little bit of ground cinnamon, and a pinch of salt, and I'm just going to give that a mix, and I'm just going to sprinkle this all over my fresh peach slices. And if you do not have fresh peaches and you have canned peaches, that's fine. Pour your canned peaches into this baking dish, butter your baking dish, and you can add some ground cinnamon in the mix, and if it comes in heavy syrup, then you can use that, drain it, and do what I'm doing right here. It all works, and I've definitely done it before. So I'm going to let these hang out and work on the batter. So here I have a bowl with a cup of all-purpose flour. By the way, I'm not making a crust. This is sort of an old-fashioned cobbler with a batter, and this is just one way that I make it. So a cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder. I'm also adding a half teaspoon of salt. I'm also going to add 3/4 of a cup of sugar. If that's too much sugar for you, then maybe a half cup works for you. I'm going with 3/4 of a cup and mix. Here, I'm going to add a half teaspoon of ground cinnamon. I'm also going to give that a mix, just to make sure everything's sort of distributed evenly before I start adding all the wet ingredients. So here I have 8 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. That's a stick of butter. A teaspoon of vanilla. I'm also going to give that a mix. And now little by little, I'm going to add like 3/4 of a cup of whole milk. Actually, this is 2% milk, and it was a little too cold, so the butter started to solidify. So you want to make sure it's room temperature milk. Typically, I like to use evaporated milk, which is room temperature, but you know, it's up to you. So give that a mix, and if you need to add a little more milk, do so. So at this point, my batter is pretty much done. It's kind of like that pancake batter consistency. So what I'm going to do is pour it right over my peaches, just like this. And I'm trying to get a thumbnail, which is why I'm kind of hanging out on this side. But essentially, you just want to evenly pour it all over the fresh peaches. And like I said earlier, you can slice these a lot thinner. I just find this easy, quick, and simple. At this point, you'll want to spread the batter over all of the fresh peaches And you'll want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit and bake this for about 30 to 35 minutes, or until it looks like this. It's a golden brown top with bubbly, juicy baked peaches. So good. So at this point, you do not want to take a bite of this. You will burn your mouth. So if you can help it, let it set and cool until you can take a really good bite, or you can just live on the edge, get a scoop of piping hot baked peach cobbler and add a scoop of vanilla ice cream. The choice is yours, but I like to wait a little. So after it has cooled, I'm going to show you what a small bowl looks like. So you get a scoop of this fresh peach Old Fashioned Cobbler, put it right into your bowl. I like to serve with a scoop of homemade vanilla ice cream and just kind of let it get a little melty with the warm peach cobbler. Oh, so good. So good. Now let me show you the blackberry cobbler. I'm actually experimenting because I think I should have worked with maybe 18 ounces of blackberries, but it is what it is. So buttered baking dish, this is a smaller quantity. So I'm just going to go in with my 12 ounces of blackberries into the buttered baking dish, and I'm just going to spread that out as evenly as possible. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is take a tablespoon and a half of sugar and just add it to this small bowl. And I'm also going to add a pinch of salt. It's really not going to be a lot of salt because this is just a small little quantity here. And give that a mix. And this is what I'm going to sprinkle on top of all of my blackberries. So for the batter, I'm not working with a full cup of flour because I'm sort of experimenting here with the blackberries. And so I'm working with maybe like 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour. I'm going to add like a half teaspoon of baking powder. And I think if you had an extra container of blackberries, you could use the full cup of flour, but I'm adjusting that recipe. So a little bit of salt here, maybe like a 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/3 teaspoon, give it a mix. And I'm going to add somewhere between a 1/3 cup and a 1/2 cup of sugar. Again, just sort of eyeballing and testing this out, and just give it a good mix. Here I'm going to add 5 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. Again, I'm going to adjust the cobbler batter for this small amount of blackberries. And now I'm going to add just a splash of vanilla extract, maybe like a 1/2 teaspoon. And for the milk, I'm adding room temperature milk into the mix. Just a little bit at a time. Start with like a 1/4 of a cup to a 1/3 cup and just give it a good mix. And if you need more, add another tablespoon or 2 into the mix. Essentially, when you add the milk, you're just adding enough to make it a pancake batter consistency, or a little bit thicker than pancake batter consistency. Now I'm just going to pour it all over the blackberries that we added sugar to earlier. And hopefully it's enough to cover it. I'm also going to bake this in a preheated oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes or until everything is cooked through. And at this point, it smells amazing in my kitchen. And check this out. It looks great. Not as much juices in these blackberries, but I know it's still going to taste great with vanilla ice cream. So I'm going to remove that carefully from the oven. So I'm going to set this right next to my peach cobbler. And this is dessert today. This goes great with a scoop of ice cream or even some black coffee or tea. So this has cooled because, like I said, if you put this in your mouth while it's piping hot, you are going to burn yourself. But check this out. This came out so good. Scoop of ice cream and I'm a happy girl. So I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.